statistics tell us that less than 5% of homes are guided by architects. I think that's a little disturbing, really. But it is certainly a trend that I have witnessed throughout my career. And I'd like to dive into this topic today of why people don't use architects in the design of homes, and and conversely, why they should. But anyway, to get started here, the the top 10 reasons why people don't use architects to design homes seems to be the seems to come from this whole idea that architects are expensive. And yes, architects are professionals. They've been to school, they've gained experience, they've passed board exams, and they are considered professional people. In the same way that in the same way that lawyers, doctors, accountants are certified professionals. So there is cost associated with that level of service, and that cost is anywhere from 70 an hour, maybe up to 150 an hour, depending on what we're talking about. For us, our flat fee is 75 an hour, but nevertheless, um, that's one of the reasons. There's also this feeling that architects don't bring value to projects. And that's one area that I can personally, speak to. I've been in homes that have not been designed by architects, family members and friends who've constructed new homes and have not used an architect. And to me, that seems a little strange because they understand what I do, but they have chosen to work with a builder to create design work, which I think is a real issue. Builders are trained to build, not trained to design, or maybe you are working with a draftsperson, someone who is able to create drawings, technical drawings, but still not really able to design and conceptualize a project in the way that an architect would. You know, there's also, I have heard or I've been told of this idea that all right, if I have $400,000 to spend on a 2,000 square foot house, if I hire an architect, then it comes out of my budget and I'll have to build a smaller house. This is true. To hire an architect is not that your budget needs to expand for this to happen. What it should mean is that the allocation of your 400,000, as an example, is redistributed. You could plan on 10% of that cost, $40,000, going to cover the cost of architect's fees, and the rest of the money, 360,000, would then be allocated towards construction. So what we're talking about is 400,000 scenario A with the architect. The architect is able to take 360K worth of construction and design that to meet your needs, to meet your site, and to create an energy efficient home that's full of wellness in those 5 things that I've been talking about in other videos, and creates a wonderful place for you to live. And with our clients, once they move into their house, they don't want to leave, and that's really what it's about. On the other hand, if the decision is made, I can't spend 40,000 for my architect, I need to spend that on my kitchen cabinets. I want high-end cabinets. It becomes a want, really, more than a need. And instead of a well-crafted, well-thought-out, well-designed house, they end up with something that is much more conventional. The type of conventional construction that we see in builder communities. The same kind of house over and over again, mass-produced housing. A house built for the masses, and probably also built for someone who is willing to simply accept 4 walls that shape space without much of a consideration of how one space flows into the next, in terms of usage and function, and how interior spaces can flow to the outdoor spaces, and even things like natural lighting, how light interacts with the forms and creates the joy of living within the house. So none of that gets put in. The house becomes a standard conventional statement that gets dropped on a piece of property, no matter the terrain or the personality, no matter what there is to look at outside. You may or may not be able to see those things, those beautiful aspects of the property, the lake view, whatever, and without much of a concern for the way the sun is going to illuminate that house, and even the prevailing breezes in the summertime and wintertime are going to affect heating and cooling costs. And then, we get into the whole issue of how is the house heated and cooled? What kind of energy is used there? Is there any sort of solar gain that can be brought in? Are there some alternative energy sources like PV panels up on the roof? Is geothermal being used possibly? And what about the thermal performance of the building envelope? How is that considered? Anyway, there's a lot that goes into it, and that's what makes this such a challenge. I think another reason why people don't use architects can be, how do I say this? Can be how sophisticated the person is in terms of art and culture. I have noticed that people who often employ architects or who would always employ an architect to design a house, and their circle of friends that would always employ an architect to design a house. These are often people of culture who understand aesthetic and understand the beauty of materials and forms fitting together in a craftsman-like way, understand the beauty of forms in light. So someone who doesn't go to art museums, who is not involved in culture, in other words, someone who has a lower standard of aesthetic appreciation may accept living in a house that is much more conventional and, is, I use this word extrusion a lot and maybe unfairly, but many homes and poor buildings are designed based on the extrusion of a floor plan into three-dimensional space. We don't do that. We think three-dimensionally, and that's what separates architects from designers, from home builders who think they can design, is that we have the ability to sculpt space three-dimensionally and bring this all together in a consistent way. So what I come to you this morning with a quote from Gandhi: "You must be the change if you wish to see change in the world." And I'm thinking that to start a movement is what is in order here. I'd like to see change. I'd like to see architects be more involved in the design of houses because I think there is true value there when a professional is involved. And I feel that the 10% that you invest in architectural services can easily be recuperated through pure joy of living in a well-designed house. And who knows what this movement is going to be called or just if it's going to take off. But I would like to empower architects to do more design work for homes. I may, at this point, I'm thinking of the word upbuild as a title for this movement. And I'm looking, I want to maintain a low threshold of entry so that that many people, those who employ architects and those who would like to employ architects, get involved in this and just spread the word. I think that analogies, I've been told, it's often suggested to me to use an analogy to get your point across. And today's analogy would be something like, You want to drive a Camry? You could drive a conventional car like a Camry, or maybe the Ford equivalent of that, Ford Escape, whatever. But or maybe you want to drive something that is good for the environment and good for mankind, and consider driving a Prius. That would be sort of a comparison. Camry for builders, Prius as an architect design house. But for me, I'm looking a lot at what Tesla has to offer. I think that company is very much relating to the time. Elon Musk, I enjoy what he's doing. I enjoy his thinking, and I admire him, and he influences me. So for me personally, I am not really satisfied with with a Camry for the next car. I'm thinking in terms of a Tesla. That is the future of where we're going. And that's what this is about. Upbuild can be the future of how homes are built. But thanks for tuning in today. I will see you soon.